This is my street. Clarissa Pembroke's scream ripped through the night like a chainsaw through silk right then and there. 11:30 on a Tuesday. Red and blue lights painting my old '67 Mustang in strokes of accusation. Officer Hendricks clicked his pen like he was writing my obituary. Officer Pascal studied my face, and I just stood there, hands in my pockets, calm as Sunday morning, while the whole neighborhood watched from behind cracked curtains. You ever feel the entire block's eyes on you pretending they're not? Let me back up a sec. 3 weeks ago, I thought moving back to Riverside Estates meant peace and quiet. Write my novels, restore Dad's car, fade into anonymity. That was the dream. Instead, Clarissa had other plans, and the cops. They had that look, the one that says this again. Like they knew deep in their bones they were dealing with a special brand of HOA nonsense. Hendricks' thick mustache, mid-40s, looked like he'd seen every flavor of neighbor drama. Pascal was younger. Tired eyes, third pointless call of his night, I bet. And Clarissa standing there in a silk robe, trembling with what she wanted to look like righteous fury, but honestly just seemed a little unhinged. I stood next to my Mustang, watching the show like someone who already knew the ending. Ma'am Hendricks started, voice stretched thin with patience. "Can you explain the violation?" Clarissa hugged her robe so tight I thought she might faint. "This vehicle has been illegally parked on Oakmont Drive for 3 weeks. Officers, I've documented every violation, issued multiple written warnings from the HOA. This is deliberate defiance." I said nothing. Let the lights flicker across the lawn, this slow-motion crime scene without a crime. Curtains twitched up and down the block, neighbors feasting on the drama. Mrs. Whitmore in 43, the Castellanos in 51, even old Virgil Steedman had his porch light on. Entertainment had finally arrived in Riverside. Pascal turned to me. "Registration and insurance for the vehicle, I pulled them from my wallet. Everything current, everything legal." Pascal looked at Clarissa, then at me, then back at Clarissa. "Vehicle's registered to you. Insurance is valid. What's the actual complaint here?" Clarissa's voice shot up an octave. "The HOA bylaws section 7.3, no vehicle may be parked longer than 4 hours between 10 p.m. and 6 a.m. He's willfully violated the rule. Property values are at risk." Oh, she was polished. I'd give her that. The trembling voice, the protecting the community routine, invoking property values like she was quoting scripture. Hendricks looked at me. "Car parked here overnight regularly," I nodded. "Sometimes, not always. Depends on when I'm working." Clarissa made a sound like a wounded animal. "He works from home. Could park in his garage but leaves this eyesore on display like he's above the rules." I reached into the Mustang, grabbed a manila folder, been sitting there for 2 days. I'd seen this coming. Clarissa was the type to push until something snapped. "Officers, I've got documentation that might clarify things." Clarissa's eyes flickered just a second, but something passed through her face, maybe fear, maybe realization. Hendricks took the folder, opened it, eyebrows up, showed Pascal, who read the first page, then looked at me differently. "Mr. Merritt, this appears to be a property deed." I nodded. "Correct." Hendricks turned the page, squinted at faded typewriter text from 1952. Clarissa's face turned from angry red to pale in 2 heartbeats. "What is that?" "What are you showing them?" Hendricks closed the folder, handed it back to me, looked at Clarissa with a mix of pity and irritation. "Ma'am, this is a matter for your HOA and maybe your legal counsel, not a criminal matter. No city ordinance violation here." Clarissa's voice cracked. "But I'm the HOA president. I have authority. That's why I called you to remove the vehicle." Pascal shifted. "We can't do that, ma'am. HOA disputes are civil matters. Go through the legal channels. File with the county, get a judgment. We're not equipped to enforce HOA bylaws." Clarissa stared, like he'd said the sun wouldn't rise tomorrow. "Then what good are you?" The words hung heavy and raw. Hendricks's jaw clenched. Pascal's eyes went flat. They were done being her private security. "We're done here," Hendricks said, voice sharp. "Ms. Pembroke, don't call emergency services for civil disputes again." And just like that, the show was over. The officers left. The silence they left behind was heavy, pregnant with all the things Clarissa wanted to scream but couldn't not with the neighborhood watching. She stood on her porch, backlit and small. "You think you're clever," she said, dangerous quiet. "You think you can come back after 15 years and ignore everything we've built. Rules apply to everyone." "They do," I said. "That's the point." Ran my hand along the Mustang's hood. Dad's car, the last piece of my grandfather's legacy. "See you at the meeting." She slammed her door hard enough to rattle the frame. I let the night settle. Cricket's dogs, barking hum of AC, the sound of peace Clarissa was so desperate to control. Dad used to say this car's got history in its bones. Same about the land. Land remembers even when people forget. I'd found his old paperwork in the basement deeds, plat maps, old county correspondence. Just nostalgia, I thought, till Clarissa's first violation notice sent me digging deeper. Found something that made me smile for the first time since Dad's funeral. A single piece of paper that proved Clarissa never had the authority she thought she did. I got in the Mustang, rolled it into my driveway just far enough to sleep without siren lights in my window. Made coffee I wouldn't drink, opened my manuscript I wouldn't write. My last novel was about a detective who found the one document everyone missed, a satisfyingly meticulous case. Didn't know I was writing my own life. 3 weeks earlier, I'd been living in New York, writing mysteries in a fifth-floor walk-up, thinking of home with rose-colored nostalgia. Then Dad died suddenly. I owned a house I hadn't seen in 15 years and a car I'd only driven twice. So I packed up, pointed the Mustang west, and came back thinking I'd heal and rebuild. But coming home meant facing Clarissa. She introduced herself on day one, navy blazer clipboard, clutched like a shield smile that said, "I'm watching you." Gave me the 47-page handbook, spiral-bound tabs, highlighted sections, weighed 3 pounds, radiated authority. All our covenants, bylaws, architectural guidelines. We work hard to maintain Riverside's character. She watched my eyes scan the section on vehicles, no overnight parking on community streets. "Pretty strict," I said. Her smile sharpened. "Nothing worse than a neighborhood that looks like a used car lot. I'm sure you understand." She called Dad's Mustang an eyesore with a smile. Something hardened in me right then. 5 days in, I got my first notice: grass too long, shutter crooked. $50 here, $75 there. Signed Clarissa Pembroke, HOA president. Called her up. She was cool, professional, wouldn't budge. The standards apply to everyone equally. Grief's not an exception. My father's illness didn't matter to her checklist. That's when I went to the basement. Old files, deeds, and right there a private road easement agreement, Oakmont Drive and all. My grandfather hadn't just built Riverside, he kept the roads, passed them to Dad, now me. The HOA had been collecting maintenance fees for roads they didn't even own. Assumptions aren't ownership. Emailed a real estate attorney. Response came quick. "Bring originals." This is interesting. Yeah, interesting was one word for it. Another word, justice. The quiet kind, knowing what you own, what you're owed. The next HOA meeting felt like a show trial. Clarissa at the head board members flanking her like backup singers, 38 households watching. She read the charges. Tall grass, broken shutter, garbage cans, but most of all, overnight parking on community streets. Held up photos like a prosecutor. 14 violations in 14 days. She finished with, "Do you have anything to say in your defense?" I stood, folder in hand. Took my time. Just a few corrections. Grass was cut the next day. Here's the photo. Shutter fixed. Here's the receipt. Garbage cans followed code. Orientation's not mandatory. Clarissa looked rattled. "That leaves the parking violation," she insisted. I nodded. "True, but only if those are community streets." Held up the deed county seal flashing. My grandfather built Riverside, sold the lots, but kept the roads. Oakmont Drive, Riverside Lane, Maple Court private road easements ownership passed to me. Property taxes paid every year. Maintenance doesn't equal ownership. The board pored over the documents. Clarissa sputtered, "Why would he do that?" I shrugged. Maybe he didn't trust a future HOA. The legal fact is I own the roads, not the HOA. The room fell silent. Virgil in the back let out a laugh. The tide turned fast. Board tabled the motion to expel me. Clarissa sat frozen, her own board abandoning her. After the meeting, people started to apologize. Virgil said, "Your grandfather was a smart man. Land remembers." Another neighbor, number 38, sent a quiet message, "Don't let her bully you. Stay strong." But Clarissa wasn't done. Next morning, a blast email to the whole neighborhood painted me as a threat. A new resident prioritizes personal preference over harmony. Photos of my Mustang, my lawn, my shutter. The community group lit up. Virgil called. "She's got everyone riled up, but she always does this. Henderson's tried to paint their trim a different white. She did the same campaign. They repainted just to make it stop." I took a walk. People turned away. Whispers followed me. Chalk messages on my driveway. Go away. I was the bad guy in Clarissa's story. That night, a certified letter from a law firm threatening to place a lien on my property for $500 in fines. My attorney just laughed. Scare tactic. They're hoping you'll panic and pay. Clarissa went for broke emails meetings, motioned to expel me from the HOA. At the final showdown, she had a PowerPoint, a whole circus slides of the entrance, rising property values, my Mustang from every angle, every violation paraded, then motioned to expel. I stood folder in hand. Thank you, Clarissa, for that passionate presentation. Unfortunately, it's wrong. Held up the deed, easement, agreement, tax records. My attorney backed me. The board saw the truth motion tabled. Clarissa deflated. 3 days of silence, then a midnight phone call. Clarissa breathing heavy, voice trembling. "You destroyed everything I built, my purpose, my identity gone." Later that night, I caught her at my Mustang drunk, taking photos, calling 911 again. The same officers showed up, issued her a citation for misuse of emergency services. "This is your fault," she whispered, tears streaming. The HOA was all I had left. And then she was gone. 5 days later, the board met. Independent counsel confirmed I owned the roads. HOA had no jurisdiction. They apologized, refunded all the fines my dad had paid in his last years. Residents admitted they'd believed Clarissa without checking facts. Virgil spoke. "This is what happens when we let one person have too much power. Rules should serve people, not the other way around." The board reformed, expanded, required supermajority for big fines, transparent appeals, annual audits. Clarissa moved out, left an apology letter in my mail slot. Admitted she was wrong, confessed she'd made my dad's last years harder. Said being right about the rules meant nothing if you're wrong about people. I put the letter in a drawer, didn't know what to do with forgiveness that came too late. The neighborhood changed. New neighbors moved in, hopeful. Virgil and I became friends. The board shrunk the handbook from 47 pages to 22. The woman from 38 was elected president, set up monthly coffee hours. My mystery novel morphed into a memoir about justice and standing your ground. My editor called it my best work yet. Clarissa found some peace. I heard volunteering in a community garden in Arizona. Maybe people can learn from their worst moments, maybe not. But Riverside got better. Not perfect, just fair. Now, when the new couple from 53 brought brownies and asked any unwritten rules, I just said, read the handbook, all 22 pages, and ask questions. The board listens now. Because the only thing that really matters is fairness, not perfection. Some evenings I'd walk through the house my grandfather built, feel 3 generations in the walls. Dad's desk is now my writing room. The original deed framed not as a trophy, but a reminder that sometimes the most important battles are won with patience, documents, and the refusal to be bullied. The state bar issued Clarissa a private reprimand. Justice wasn't a parade, just a quiet correction. The neighborhood held a car show. My Mustang sat among classics, just another beautiful car. Virgil's granddaughter climbed in, grinning. That's the point, I told her, crouching down. You get to decide where it goes. Sunset on Oakmont Drive now smells like cut grass barbecue, not suspicion. I wish you could see this. Dad, I said to the night, justice wasn't about punishing, but restoring. Power with accountability, rules serving people, not the other way around. Sometimes justice is just the simple freedom to park your car on your own street without fear, knowing you fought for what's right, and persistence, not anger, wins out over any bully with a clipboard. Now tell me, where do you stand? Ever had to fight for what was yours, or seen someone abuse authority because nobody questioned them? Drop your story below, or just tell me where you're watching from. Because in the end, justice isn't just a word. It's the courage to keep standing your ground even when the whole street is watching.